Hi everybody. So no video yesterday because I did just decide that I wanted to just sit with the emotions that I witnessed and experienced in myself around death and grief, around like my past stories and my experiences with the stuff that comes up when I think about my mum, because a lot of my healing journey was catalysted. The catalyst for a lot of my healing journey was my experiences with my mum. And it's there's a part of me that's very sad that I never got to share with her because she had dementia and had forgotten like all the things, all the events that had impacted me. She'd forgotten really by the time, like, if I ever brought up any of the past incidents with me, with her in the last couple of years of her life, she just literally couldn't remember them. And then we'd end up in like a dementia argument. If you've ever had anyone in the family with dementia and you know what that's like, they can get quite volatile once there's issues with dementia, and that's that element of damage to the brain. There can be aggression or argumentative tendencies that weren't necessarily there beforehand. So sitting with that is always a little painful. Maybe not painful, more sad. I think it really is just sad that I never got to tell her that things had improved for me, that I was happier, that I was healing, that I'd forgiven her, that I understood some of the reasons why certain things have been chosen. And it just sort of brings me on to what's ended up coming to my awareness today around this time in history. For many of us of my age group, mid-40s, many of us born in the 1970s and 80s, and how our parents, those who raised us, had a lot of stuff going on for them. And my parents were actually a generation before most of my peers' parents, in that my parents were war babies. So my parents were 1930s babies, whereas a lot of my friends, their parents were 1940s babies, boomers. And irrespective of that, there is this, like, they didn't have the opportunity to process. They didn't share feelings and emotions. I mean, my mum had some really tough, tricky experiences go on in her life that she never got to explore. And she was like 60, 70, 60, at least 60, before she realised that some of them were impacting her life and had impacted big parts of her life. She had a baby die an hour after birth between my two older sisters. But that was never, like, in the 1960s, that was not something that they ever discussed, talked about. It was a huge, like, literally, like, just brushed under the carpet and not talked about. And obviously a lot has changed since the 70s, 80s. Baby neonatal death is something that is really supported. But then again, when you talk to women who've lost babies even more recently, sometimes it's not, again. But we are aware more now of the impact that might be having on us on a deeper level at some point, and often be able to go into that. I have a lot of clients who've even had abortions who are aware then of the impact that that has had on their being, their energy, their emotions, their body. And I do a lot when I'm doing emotional clearing and energy clearing and Reiki to support women who've chosen to end a pregnancy, the healing process and the support that is needed, that's often just not given when you decide that's the step that you have to take. There isn't necessarily that emotional support given to you when you go to the clinic. And like, those things are not discussed, they're not talked about, they weren't talked about, and that pain, that trauma is then passed on to us. And it's like almost like these generations now, those of us in our 50s, 40s and younger as well, are unraveling all of those stories from past generations, who then like almost don't remember that they were these traumatic incidents, or that they impacted. They're not aware, they maybe don't want to think about it, they maybe don't want to face it, they don't want to admit. I mean, when my mum found out that her actions had caused me to self-harm, she was beside herself. But if I'd have gone to her and went, look, Mum, like, what you did to me when you were bringing me up has made me self-harm, she would probably not put the two together. Like, she'd probably be so disassociated from the events of my early childhood that she'd not realise the long-term implications of them. And this is another reason why I'm really keen on supporting mums with conscious raising of their own offspring, because I know that the impact of how we treat our young people, how we treat our babies, how we treat our toddlers, how we treat them as they're growing up then through their ages, how that impacts them further down the line. Because that's what I see coming through my door nearly every day is people with these impacted situations from when they were little, even as young as like 2, 3, 4-year-old, where it's creating them repeating patterns and repeating stories on through life, right up into adulthood, right up to like 60, 70 years old. People are then experiencing and having these stories continue on into their life. So to summarize my little thoughts for today, we can't change the past, not directly anyway. We can't change how other people have treated us or what other events in life have impacted us. What we can do is support ourselves in the now to move through any of those emotions that have been brought up, any emotions that we may be storing, that we may be holding on to, like the hurt, the anger, the upset, the pain, the resentment and irritation, and the sadness, and then the sadness that surfaces when we lose somebody and then we can't address it with them, and how we then are left to address it alone. And that's like, it's kind of like address it or we store it, and we end up physically having symptoms somewhere in the gut, somewhere in the brain, somewhere in our physical bodies where we're storing those emotions. So if you do feel like you'd like to find some support with those past experiences, it's one of the things I specialise in, and the very, very simplest thing that you can do is come and join me for a group EFT session. I'll drop those links below. Meanwhile, let me know what you think, what your thoughts are, and don't forget to do those things YouTube likes, like, comment and subscribe if you'd like to see more of these little tidbits of information or riffs, or hopefully supportive little bits of chat and information. And I'll see you all again very soon. Bye.